Today, I wanted to talk to you about shattering the illusions of disappointment. So, I think, again, this is a word that's kind of been maligned a little bit into a very negative state. And all words have a dualistic side to them. So, I kind of want to show you this and how disappointment can not only help you examine your personality type and get a little deeper and know yourself better, and how disappointment can make you self-aware, more self-aware, so you don't fall into the traps that you used to fall into. This is Nina's Apollo, a place to talk about spiritual personality typing. So the reason I want to talk to you about disappointment is I was at a book signing this weekend. It was just so cool to be on a busy sidewalk in a small little town, Fairhope, Fairhope, Alabama. And thank you, Paige and Palette, for having me. And just talking to people soul to soul. And so what sparked this conversation that I'm having with you is this beautiful soul came to me and we started talking about the book. And I said, well, what if you could get to know yourself better? This is what this book is about. It's about learning to understand that, you have this inner God, which I call the spark of divinity that lives within you. Call it God, call it the Holy Spirit, call it the great I am. I don't care what you call it. Your heart center, your higher consciousness. But that's what drives you. That's your internal beingness. All this logical and material and physical stuff are our teachers, right? It just teaches us. And so when you get in touch with your divine self, that inner spark within, the logical is led by divine inspiration. Okay, so I just want to clarify that first so you understand where I'm going with this whole conversation. So I had that conversation with this, like I said, this beautiful soul. And she just looked at me and said, I know I need to change. I know something in my life needs to change, but I can feel it. And that's your soul. That's that soul spark saying, pushing a little bit, right? It starts pushing, not in a bad way, in a very gentle, gracious way, just showing you need to change, need to change. Mine pushed me to the ground because I wasn't listening. But so I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. And she's like, I know I need to change. I know there's things I need to do, but I'm so afraid of disappointing other people. And my response to her was, that's the decision you're going to have to make. Are you going to live a disappointed life? Or are you going to go through the disappointment and come out better and more true to yourself on the other side? Think about that for a moment. That's a big question. And that's a big thing to do. That's a very courageous thing to do. Because we never want to disappoint, especially people that we love and care about. We never want to disappoint them. And oftentimes in our society, we're taught just to please everybody, to fit in, right? And that's a disappointment on another level. That's a disappointment to your true self. That's a disappointment I lived for many years. I kept on disappointing myself and disappointing myself and disappointing myself. So another word for that is I was lying to myself. And then I would take action and I would be disappointed. Well, of course. Where's the truth in all that? There's no truth in that. So see how disappointment takes on many different, it's multi-faceted. Let's just use that for a word. Couldn't think of anything else. So, and I couldn't get into this, a deep, soulful conversation because there's people lined up and blah, blah. But, she heard what I said and she said, yeah, you're right. And you know what? It doesn't matter what age we are, where we are in our lives. Do you want to live a disappointing life? Do you want to be disappointed every single day of your life? Or do you want to walk through the disappointment, face those disappointing things that you need to face, and come out on the other side a more self-aware person? And when you're more self-aware, you treat the whole world to that gift because everybody around you becomes more self-aware. I really noticed that at my book signing. There's a lot of people that didn't want to come up to me, which I get it. I know personality typing. I know introverts. I know extroverts. I know how it goes. But the cool thing is, I was just being as true to myself as I could possibly be. Yes, I was nervous. It's something I haven't done before. So, I was an anxious nervous, which was good because it was a good anxious, right? But me just speaking my truth, just because you're not standing in front of me, and maybe that you're in the peripheral of this, something resonates with you. Something actually resonates with you. And you're like, oh, I didn't think of it like that. Because we don't think of it like that. Because so many of us are pleasers. Hello, raise my hand. I am one. I am a recovering pleaser. That we want to please. So with wanting to please, we don't want to disappoint. Other people, on the other hand, are so motivated by their own ambitions and goals, they disappoint constantly. They're not aware. They're not aware of what they're doing. So they're constantly disappointed. And it could just be the smallest thing. It could be a tone in somebody's voice, a belittling conversation. You know? An aggressive way that you're handling a situation, anger, frustration, all these things. So this is when I say you need to start getting into your personality type. And I feel the biggest place to start is how you make decisions. So do you know how you make decisions? Do you know what personality trait helps you with your decision making? Just a question. If you don't know that, you're going to be disappointed often. I know I was. Till I really started studying this stuff and figuring out who I really was and started listening to that deep voice, my divine, beautiful spark within. That's the concept I was created for. So I don't talk about this as a woo-woo thing. I truly believe that God or divine intelligence created your soul for a very specific purpose. We are not here to reinvent ourselves in that way. We already have this concept. We reinvent ourselves through uncovering all the layers of the conditioning of our childhood, our false beliefs, our values that are misplaced. That's where the reinvention comes from. We've already been concepted by a divine energy that's created the world. Why would you want to change that? You don't. Okay, so I digress. Let me go back. So, do you know how you make decisions? I'm going to ask it again. Decision making comes in two ways: thinking or feeling. And then there's two other ways: introverted thinking or extroverted thinking, introverted feeling or extroverted feeling. And if you don't know how you make decisions, it becomes very hard for you to not get disappointed often because you're probably, this is what I did, so I'm only going by me, okay? So this is through my lens. You're probably making decisions a lot of the times to meet somebody else's expectations, okay? So when you make decisions based on that, you're living somebody else's narrative and you will eventually become disappointed. It's just a matter of time, right? So these traits are very interesting. Introverted thinking is way more intuitive than extroverted thinking. Extroverted thinking is just like it is, like extroverted. So it's very welcoming in the world. It can be commanding. It has offers a lot of leadership abilities. It's very direct. It's also very, since it lives in this external world. It's about systems and organizations and not good with detail though. Funny enough, because it's seeing the big picture, right? It's seeing the big picture, and this trait lives in all personality types in a very different way. And I'm going to layer this in from a spiritual point of view. It also comes at it in a very different way based on your childhood experiences. And then another layer to this is your soul's mission here on earth. So these traits will be a shade different for you because you're the only you in the world. Your soul print is the only soul print, not only on earth, in the cosmos. Think of that. Think how powerful that is. Think how powerful that is. That's really powerful. And so your beautiful soul is part of the tapestry of the earth plane and out into the cosmos. Right? So when you're not healing, you're weighing down the tapestry, that energy, because we're all energy beings. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's my belief. That's a belief I hold very dear. And for me, I know it to be true. It might not be true for you. Again, take what resonates and leave the rest. And so there's also, like I said, introverted feeling. It's more intuitive. It's more retrospective because it's introverted, right? So that's why I don't like to get into these descriptors of personality typing traits a lot, because I don't want to just continue the conversation of the conventional, traditional, stereotypical aspects of it. Their traditional personality typing is rooted in what I do. So I'm not dishing it. I'm just saying it's so much more than what's out there. That's a very superficial look. A very superficial look. But let me go into this just so I don't miss the feeling people, because I don't want them to be left out. But in the feeling way, right, there's introverted and extroverted. Extroverted feelers are very dynamic. They're very persuasive. They have the ability to really gather people and create a movement. They just do. A lot of personality types have that, but they're queued up for it. I mean, they are just queued up. It's just in their soul. It is what they're going for. And the funny thing enough, your soul uses all of these traits to complete its mission here on earth. So that's what I teach. I love for you to understand that your beautiful soul needs your personality traits to complete its mission here on earth. Say it again. Your soul relies on your personality traits to complete its mission here on earth. I know that's really exciting when you think about it. So your personality type is very sacred. And so if you have an introverted feeling trait, you're highly individualistic. I mean, you're fierce about individuality. And the thing is, you're often seen as kind of eclectic. You have this individual vibe about you. No, I'm going to do it my way. So you're unconventional, which I love. And but you're also very protected of other individuals and their rights to be seen and heard as an individual. So that tells you a great deal just about that person. So if you're making decisions not based on those traits, can you see how disappointment could arise? Can you see that? So if you're this individual, let's just say you have an introverted feeling trait. Let's say you have that, and you're making a decision that steps away from that fierceness, that value that you hold dear of everyone should be individualistic, and you say, no, on this, I'll just bend a little bit. I'll just go with that, right? And you're just going to go with the flow, and you want to go, and you just want to belong. And what happens? You get disappointed, right? That's not who you are. So you're going to get disappointed. So can you see now the shades of disappointment? And disappointment can also mean that you're ready to move on. You're seeing yourself from a more highly evolved person. You're just not into the material consumptive world. That no longer serves you. I'm not saying you don't like to do things in the physical world. That's not what I'm saying. But it doesn't become your guiding light. You just don't rely on that because you become grounded in the true self and what's truly important to you. And so all this, and even all this chaos that's going on, all this craziness, you're grounded because you know you're an external being. Excuse me, an internal. I'm looking for the word. It's not external. It's not internal. Eternal. Whoa, where's my head? You're eternal. You're life everlasting. When you shed this body, you jump into another body. I don't know what it's going to be. That's just my belief. Your soul is eternal. You get really grounded in that. You start really understanding that. And all these things start coming into your life. Because now your soul has this rhythm. It can rely on you because it knows you're listening to it. And it starts going into these traits and it starts shaking up the traits and making you see yourself for what these traits can actually bring to you. Not some stereotypical horrible box that they try to put you in, or not some gift, or not some meme, not some stereotype. It's none of that. It's none of that. It's such an expanded vision of yourself. So if you let that disappointment take hold of you, your soul can't function. It doesn't function in fear. It doesn't function from that place. It functions with the inner knowings of divine intelligence. That's where its messaging comes from. It doesn't get messages from the external world. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Its messages come from divine intelligence. So I'm teaching you here is there's divine intelligence. Here's you, this beautiful soul. I call it your divine spark within. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it the heart center. Some people call it the love light. There's lots of the great I am, your chi energy, the life force. I like the life force too because that is the divine working through you in an energy way, which I love. But it doesn't take orders from the material world. It just doesn't. So once you start reconnecting into that, you'll see that yes, you are changing and you want to start living from that aspect. So you may have to disappoint some people. You may have to say, I'm changing and I can no longer live this lifestyle, or I can no longer work in this atmosphere, or I can no longer be your friend because you do not want to acknowledge me or where I'm going, nor do you want to support me. So yes, you'll have to disappoint people. But like I said at the beginning, if you don't, then you're disappointing yourself and you live a disappointed life. I hope that made sense. And I'm going to put like 3 little journal prompts in the description box so you can kind of go through this. I want you to look at your personality type. I want you to get a journal out and see in your life where you're disappointed. It could be in little things too, because the little things often uncover something larger and something deeper. And then you go deeper. It's like an onion. You keep on peeling the onion. Believe me, I'm always peeling the onion. I will never be the elevated divine energies, I'm like the head there. I'm heading there. Much farther along than where I was. And I always say, some people are going to walk behind you, some people are going to walk with you, and some people are going to walk ahead of you. Try to catch up with the people that are walking ahead of you. Because if you try to catch up with the people behind you, you might be disappointed. So you don't want to do that. Okay? So the 3 things I'm telling you, look at your personality type. get a journal prop and see those little things that you can start tweaking, like, and if you're stuck in that, let yourself know it's okay. It's okay to be stuck right now, but also become aware that this is a place you don't want to stay. Okay? So I'll put those in. And if you haven't read my new book, Pack Your Personality, Let Your Inner Guide Be Your Travel Guide, it's a great place to start. It's on Amazon. It's like 24 bucks. So, or get the Kindle, which is $9.99 or some crazy price. But um, that's 7 years of work of me studying and doing all this work and using spiritual personality typing to get through my own life tsunami. So there's a lot of real world applications in there. It's practical. I've taken the basic components of the Myers-Briggs theory and I've modernized it with a spiritual component that flips the script on how to best live your life, living from the true self, living from an evolved sense of being. I was going to read something to you. And I'm going to tell you, and this is kind of, it's within these pages is a unique roadmap for your personality type, a wealth of travel tips on where to visit, stay, and play with a twist. It exposes the illusions of consumerism while exploring the benefits and intentional travel to inspire life-changing journeys and empowering the true self. So I use travel as a place for you to start this journey, because journey's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not an easy journey. But travel is the best time to start a self-discovery journey, because you know what? You're open. It's a more freeing time. You've left the daily grind behind. And maybe you're solo traveling, so it could be really good. You get away from everybody in your life. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that people that are close to you often influence and impact you. You want to start with just you. Just you. And hear the insights. Hear the messages that are just for you. Hear them. So they can start empowering you to take different steps. Empowering you to go ahead and speak to people that are disappointing you or that are no longer serving you. And yes, it's going to be a disappointment for them. And it's hard. It's hard for somebody to say, this is no longer working in my life. Because you don't want to disappoint others. But if you don't, like I said, you live a disappointed life. You don't want that. Life's too short. Look how fast life's going. Life is too short for that. So I hope this was an interesting question, an interesting look at disappointment, right? And how it works in your life, and how you can change how you feel about disappointment, how you can better cope with disappointment, and where are the places to start looking so you can start to uncover disappointment for personal growth, for personal awareness, for personal understanding. All for now. Nina. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all the YouTube stuff, right? And I put links for my book, links for the blog, and links to my website in the description box below. Have a wonderful day.